Chris Exhaust at last ended his quietness on the motivation behind why we haven't seen him in Hollywood as an edge in a new meeting with V100 and 3 Exhaust. Would agree that since he ascended so quick he needed to accomplish more with his vocation, he thought the most effective way to do that was to step back and live. We've all seen Chris Exhaust's non-attendance in Hollywood. Yet what were the explanations for his choice to step away? Was it because of Hollywood's powerlessness to live up to his monetary assumptions? So at last was cash the driving variable behind it, every one of the genuine rationale. Behind his choice remaining parts muddled, driving some to estimate that he essentially couldn't adapt to the requests of Hollywood any longer. So what's reality behind this? That we will figure out in this video. Obviously, before I spill anything, ensure first that you buy into our station and hit that warning ranger for additional updates and recordings like this. Currently, we should bounce in Chris, you astonishing profession. I watched you on Def Jam, then watching you explode a film to the entire thing. And afterward, it was like, poof, better believe it. Where's Chris? I needed to do more that wasn't enough for me, you know. And afterward, I began going all over the planet, seeing a ton of things residing. And I began partaking in those things since I realized it wasn't just about me any longer. Chris Exhaust is focusing on his choice to leave Hollywood, in spite of monstrous accomplishment, in the wake of being a piece of the Busy Time set of 3, the famous entertainer said he felt like he had stirred things up around town of progress to the extent that his vocation goes. Without a doubt, Chris Exhaust's name conveyed huge load in the realm of superstar, having featured in various striking movies. And in any event, accomplishing the situation with most generously compensated entertainer in Hollywood, at one point anyway. Shockingly, his filmography highlights a generally short rundown of motion pictures, especially following the outcome of the Busy Time series. It is easy to comprehend the reason why when you procure in excess of $40 million for only 2 motion pictures, you gain the opportunity to seek after anything way you want in life. Maybe he basically wanted a takeoff from the spotlight and yearned for a more standard presence after the Busy Time films. By there are signs that elements past exiting the workforce could have affected Chris Exhaust's choice to pull back from acting, the manner in which I sort of stepped back from Hollywood, at one point being the most generously compensated entertainer in Hollywood. I felt like you realize it was a roof not too far off. I needed more. It wasn't sufficient. So I ventured back, carried on with somewhat ventured to the far corners of the planet, and did a ton of compassionate stuff that truly expanded my viewpoint of the world. Expressed Exhaust in a meeting with my exemplary ATL that you realize it ain't just about me being the greatest comic or entertainer on the planet, it's tied in with becoming someone to provide for the world, to rouse in some sort of manner, ideally. So I like that I did that. Another critical perspective, adding to Chris Exhaust's choice in regards to future film projects, was his well-established strict convictions. Brought up in a severe Christian family, he grew up inside the setting of a Pentecostal Christian family, with his folks being created individuals from the congregation of God in Christ. These strict convictions, without a doubt, assumed a huge part in molding his point of view, and possibly affected his decisions inside media outlets. My mother, man, she didn't play man. My mom made us go to chapel, made of, as per VIP total assets. Altogether, Chris acquired no less than $50 million from his work in the Busy Time establishment alone, about $65 million in the wake of adapting to expansion. He later turned into the most generously compensated entertainer in Hollywood at one time. Then he left the scene and hadn't thought back as of recently. After leaving on his profession, Chris Exhaust's strict commitment was not especially articulated anyway. In the last part of the 1990s, he encountered a rediscovery of his Christian confidence, which thusly changed the direction of his expert undertakings. Supposedly, he became lean to participate in projects that resounded with and maintained his strict convictions, adjusting his profession decisions to his newly discovered profound feelings. As a matter of fact, during one of his meetings with Straight, he said being a Christian assists me in satire. I with discussing other stuff. Typically, most comics discuss stuff that is simple, perhaps cussing, or offering something uncivilized. I need to dig further to find something still interesting. And not run its harder. I like the test for sure. Fans want to see Chris Exhaust repeat the notable job of Smokey from the primary Friday movie delivered in 1995. Anyway, Chris Exhaust himself has unequivocally expressed that he declined the chance to repeat that job because of his own convictions. His strict convictions obviously had a critical influence in his dynamic cycle, driving him to turn down the opportunity to depict a person that could struggle with his confidence in those days. I must explain to you one reason why I didn't do the second one due to the Weed Ice Flock has revealed further insight into Chris Exhaust's choice to decline repeating his job, uncovering that they were ready to offer him a significant amount of 10 to 12 million bucks for the following portion of the Friday establishment anyway. Exhaust turned down the open door because of strict reasons, communicating a hesitance to utilize fullness or participate in on-screen Mary Jane utilization during a new meeting with GQ. In April 2023, the subject of Chris Exhaust's takeoff from Hollywood re-emerged, and he energetically gave a few important bits of knowledge into the matter. And that character is so turned out to be such extraordinary person, I would rather not mess it up except if it's truly something great. We could truly improve it, you know. Music, according to Chris Exhaust's record, he has widely ventured to the far corners of the planet, having navigated its different locales on numerous occasions. All through his excursions, he has fashioned associations and laid out connections across the globe. Moreover, he has been effectively participated in philanthropic undertakings on a global scale. This consistent commitment has kept him involved, encouraging persistent self-awareness and development. Moreover, he communicated a craving to carry on with an existence past exclusively zeroing in on his vocation, perceiving that such a more extensive point of view would add to his development as an entertainer, adding, I believe it's great when you can disappear and have a day-to-day existence beyond the business. Somewhat a ton of bit craftsmanship mirrors life. So you got to have a full life to accomplish incredible work. Chris Exhaust likewise recognized that he was not roused exclusively by gathering abundance through trivial film jobs, in spite of the charm of distinction. Excessive belongings, like vehicles, houses, and confidential planes. He perceived that material belongings alone wouldn't give him genuine joy. Rather, he longed for significant and unique jobs. However, tragically, those valuable open doors were not promptly accessible to him at the time. This acknowledgement drove him to set out on an excursion of investigation and individual encounters, deciding to carry on with life to the fullest, as opposed to trusting that those ideal jobs will go along. In opposition to past reports proposing that his confidence assumed a huge part in his choice to pull back from acting, Chris Exhaust explained that these cases were fairly misrepresented. While he might be reluctant to take on jobs that include weighty medication use, he demonstrated that he isn't so stringently, probably, as specific Google searches could suggest, recommending that his otherworldliness doesn't.